So, Don't Worry, Darling. It's a 2022 mystery psychological thriller from director Olivia Wilde, written by Katie Silberman, is who did a very bad job writing this. It centers on Alice and Jack Chambers in the 1950s town of Victory, California. Jack works for the Victory Project along with his friends, everybody from the neighborhood. The men, including Nick Kroll, go to work during the day. They come back. The wives have cleaned the house. They're ready to be stuffed, made them dinner. The whole thing, all very, very
suburban
50s,
utopia.
Yeah, sort of like very, I was going to say MAGA idealist, but I don't want to give anything away there. But Alice slowly begins to figure out something's wrong with this place. Mm-hmm. She starts to figure it out, by the way, just from listening to Margaret, who's like, yo, hey, everybody, something's wrong with this place. They're like, Margaret's so fucking weird.
Yeah, subtlety, not a strong point of this movie.
Oh my God. The heavy-handedness with which they address gaslighting in this movie. It's not the best Florence Pugh gaslighting movie. That would be Midsommar. Mm-hmm. And it's also not the best white Get Out, which it tries to be. Get Out, famously, is the white Get Out. And the whites are just the bad guys in that movie. This movie is as if a high schooler saw Get Out, was really excited, said, I want to play, tried to write a movie like Get Out, and didn't understand that Get Out works and is brilliant because everything represents something. Everything means something. Everything ties together. There is no stone that's left unturned. This movie is rife with plot holes.
There's a good movie in there somewhere, but it is certainly not as smart as it thinks that it is, and it certainly does not allot its time properly, is like my biggest takeaway, because there is like a big twist at the end, but you spend so much time pre-twist that it like allows you to think about the twist, that you know there's a twist coming. You know that's the thriller in it. You know that a twist is coming. Again, it's not very subtle, so there's a good chance you're going to arrive at the twist or close to the twist before it actually gets there. And then once it actually does get there, the twist is not fully fleshed out. It spends like 20 minutes post-twist, and it really doesn't explain a whole lot, and there's not a lot of like useful calories behind the twist. There is a lot of empty calories in this movie.
So I agree that the first hour of this movie is good, and with the exception, like Harry Styles was really bad in this movie.
I didn't think so. He wasn't like distractingly bad.
I thought that if Florence Pugh were worse, he wouldn't be distractingly bad. But Florence Pugh
that's unfair to
is
Harry
like
Styles.
Out there fucking grinding, and then you have this guy who can't really act, and
I think he can act
off of each other.
I think he can act. The problem is that he's going up against like a titan.
So that's what I'm saying. Like
acting.
If she were worse, it wouldn't stand out as much. But
you're holding that against
her
Harry
doing
Styles.
her thing and him being like, "Oh, I hope you're not going to be hysterical." I'm like, God, that's where like the director should cut and have them take that.
Well,
again, this is also poorly directed. Even Florence Pugh.
Can I stop you there?
Where did you guys honeymoon?
Yeah.
She says Hilton Head. Mm-hmm. It's Hilton Head.
Yeah.
Like that's Florence Pugh doesn't know because Florence Pugh is British.
Okay,
that's
let me stop you. You said that that you kind of holding it against Harry Styles that he was bad in this movie up against Florence Pugh. And then you said it's a directing issue. It's a directing issue because the director cast her boyfriend, who is not an actor, to replace the very good actor that quit the project.
Yeah,
opposite a very, very good actress. So, as a director, you have a very important role up for grabs here because of the drama. We don't have to get into the drama, but like because of the drama, there was a very important role freed up opposite a titan of an actress, And she cast her boyfriend
after that. She wasn't. I think they started dating after though. But still, she cast somebody that she shouldn't cast.
She cast somebody that she shouldn't
unknown.
cast. She cast a person who is not an actor.
Yeah,
that is a bad casting job.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it would have been better if Shia LaBeouf were in this instead of Harry Styles. It still wouldn't have been a good movie. It still wouldn't have made sense. Let's address the twist. So the twist is, and hopefully everybody's seen it, because I'm also going to address some things that we probably won't give much lead up to. But the twist is they are living in a simulation in which the men, present day men, have kidnapped women and they're living in this simulation together. So they're in a bed with some
like eye scanners,
orange shit on their face, and they're living in this simulated world. And when the men, quote unquote, go to work, they clock out of the simulation and they go to work in real life so they can pay for this very expensive thing that they do. The women stay in the simulation at all times. The men are responsible for feeding them and like watering them in real life to keep them alive. That is the twist. And the other things that are revealed along with that, such as that the children in it are simulations, they're not real people, open up so many questions and so many plot holes that just don't get addressed at all. And it's so fucking unsatisfying. And you get the feeling leading up to the twist that like there's not going to be much here. We're going to find out what it is. And obviously the idea of like, oh, it's kidnapping and there's like simulations and computer programs and everything, that's like a big thing. But it's not much in that it's not satisfying because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and so like that's what I mean by that the movie did not allot its time correctly, because the first hour, like you said, pretty good. And like this isn't a bad movie that you're going to lose interest at any point in the movie. You're locked in and it is entertaining while you're watching it, but they fail to land the plane. And when you have a thriller, that is extremely important because it makes the previous hour that you enjoyed either worth it or a waste of time. And while I think it's pretty strong to say that it was a waste of time, they spoiled the good hour by not landing the plane in the final act. And I really do think that they should have spent like the second hour going through, like the reveal should have come an hour in, or like an hour 15 or something, and they should have spent 45 minutes to an hour really diving into the twist here, because I do think that it is an interesting premise. It's an interesting premise, but you have a lot to address there, and they didn't do it.
All right, so I've got basically 5 kind of sections of plot holes leading up to one gigantic one that just blows up the whole movie. Which order would you like me to go in?
Let's build up to it then.
All right, let's start with the simulation. There's no badge or code to exit the simulation. You just have to go up to a thing and put your hands on it. That's not a good idea when half of the people in the simulation are kidnapped people. So all they need to do is stumble upon it, put their hands on it, they're out, and then, assuming they can deal with the atrophy, get out of their bed and be like, what the fuck? I've been kidnapped. Really doesn't make sense. And also there's like this, they show this very official scene in the beginning where all the cars are driving, and I saw it twice because I want to see the first half of it knowing what the reveal is. And the Jonah from Veep is saying like, okay, like the men are officially blah, blah, and they're doing like all this official stuff. But what does it matter if you can just go in and out and it doesn't matter? There's nothing that's holding you from exiting it. So
yeah, there's no like guard tower. There's nothing.
Nothing.
They really don't have any level of security to get to the quote unquote headquarters.
All right, now let's talk about the Bunny character played by Olivia Wilde. Why would Bunny let Alice leave at the end when it would end the simulation? Bunny reveals that she knows about the whole operation and that she's intentionally doing it because in real life her kids died, and here she's with her kids. 2 questions off that. Why would she let Alice leave when she's going to now lose all that?
Like the entire reason why she's there, she's jeopardizing by letting Alice go.
And 2, why, when so much of this movie involves drugging and fucking with people's memory, does she choose to actively know what's going on? Why wouldn't they have her do to her what they do to all the other women, so she would actually think day to day that her kids never died and that she is living her, quote, real life with her, quote, real kids?
Yeah, I mean, like that one isn't really the loophole that I'm stuck on. It's more like how are they able to like recreate her kids just like based off of her description, memory? Like,
why wouldn't Jack just clock out and kill Alice once she figures it out? There isn't a plan for these guys that what do we do when somebody catches wise and figures this out? Alice figures out everything that he's done, says, this is what you do. You took away my life. I was a doctor in real life and all these things. And he's like, oh, fuck, I'm sorry. Give me a hug. And then he tries to like squeeze her to death. Why wouldn't he just run, get in the car, leave the simulation, and kill Alice?
Because I think that he's like so cocky and arrogant that he thinks that he can gaslight her or like manipulate her into staying and being happy. And I think that that's sort of like the hubris of man.
Yeah, well, a big thing of this movie is like, it's because they're incels.
Yeah.
And that's like, all right, you saw Get Out and you were like, I don't want a specific. What? How can we specify which white people we don't like? All right. 2, the drugs. Why do they prescribe her drugs in the simulation to try to get her to forget all the things she's seeing when they are literally drugging this person in real life? Why wouldn't you just add more drugs to what you're giving her? You could actually control what she thinks and how much of her brain she's able to use. By doing all this, that's what you're doing with everybody. Why wouldn't you just do it with her?
No, I mean, I assume that it's like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I assume that it's like because she's gaining, what do you call it? Like awareness of the simulation. So like she's kind of becoming human inside the simulation. And I'm assuming they're just trying to numb her out.
So why wouldn't they do that? Why would you do that on the outside?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
You
like
could make that person-
she's in like a vegetative state already. So
Yeah.
like how much more are you like able to? Maybe that's the
Possibly.
like maybe they would actually kill her if they gave her more drugs or made her more vegetative.
I'll allow that. Here's the one though that makes you think, God, why did they make this fucking movie? The kids are not real.
Mm-hmm.
Which shows they can generate simulated women or simulated people.
Humans, yeah. Why don't you?
Why wouldn't they just fucking simulate the women, therefore cutting out 100% of the risk?
Yeah. I
that
mean,
makes no fucking sense.
I mean, I guess in the case of, I mean,
it's because these guys are such incels that they want to like actually kidnap a real woman.
No,
because that doesn't make sense.
I mean, it does and it doesn't. Like it does in the way that that like if you actually love or like think that you love somebody on the outside and you want to have a life with them, like an ideal life with them, like Harry Styles' character does, then yeah, then it would make sense to like bring somebody from the outside in. But again, going back to how the fuck were they able to recreate Olivia Wilde's children, like basically just clone them? Well, if you can do that with the kids, why can't you do that with the outside wife?
That's the biggest thing. Just simulate that thing and simulate this person, and there we go. It makes no fucking sense. This movie is so poorly written, and it stinks because this was my number one most anticipated movie of the fall movie season. Before all the drama, I was still excited to see it even with the drama. Then I started to hear, like everybody else, it's not very good. And I was like, fuck, really? Because, I mean, think of, I'm a fan of the Eagles. you can definitely fucking hate each other and make good shit.
Oh yeah, of course.
So many bands, so many movies, that is in no way an indication that the work is going to be bad. Fleetwood Mac.
And sometimes that honestly like enhances the enjoyment of the band or like the lore.
Yeah.
Like it just becomes more fascinating.
Yeah.
But so here's my thing is that I think this movie is obviously like disappointing from like an expectation standpoint, because I think that people were heading into this movie like legitimately thinking that it was going to be one of the better movies of the year. Like had a lot of hype behind it even before any of the drama. I do think that like it was a disappointment quality wise, but it wasn't a disappointment in terms of like talking points, because like this movie is still awesome to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I thought about it for hours after I saw the movie, and I wanted to go back and see it because I just wanted to see. Well, the list of the 5 things that I just gave was actually like a list of like 13 things that I kind of condensed. But I was like, if I see it again, am I going to have a list of 100 plot holes in this movie? Like maybe we get to triple digits. But yeah, again, it looks very good.
Yeah.
Its soundtrack is fucking banging. We haven't seen enough movies yet, but I think that Florence Pugh would be a potential leading actress nominee for an Oscar. Like, there are good things about this movie, but it's so poorly written, and not like nothing anybody else could make up for it. Even some of the shots in the beginning, like when all the cars pull out of the driveway, I was like, what are people talking about? This movie's gonna be good. That's a cool shot. And again, you don't know that it's bad until like halfway through the movie.
Yeah, I mean, even halfway through the movie, I was like, still like, oh, this could be good.
No, halfway through the movie, there is a dancing scene that is the worst scene of any movie I've seen this year. Chris Pine pulls Jack, Harry Styles, onto the stage and gives him a promotion, and then has the band play a song and makes. There's not even like, okay, are we gonna do this? He gives Jack his ring and then begins to take off Jack's jacket as though like, all right, it's now understood. You are to now dance. So he starts dancing and he's like hopping about the stage, and Chris Pine's like, Jack, everybody look at Jack dance, twirl around, give it a spin. And everybody, like Nick Kroll, Olivia Wilde, they're all freaking the fuck out. They're like, he's dancing.
And like Jack does not look like he's having a good time.
He looks like he's like putting in work. Like he's learned these steps, and he's really thought about this for a long time.
Like he is at the brink of exhaustion, and he's still like spinning around like crazy. That was a weird fucking scene.
The worst.
It was horrible. Yeah, and I don't know. Like I still don't think that it was a horrible movie, but there was a lot of bad writing. There was a lot of nonsensical crap. I genuinely believe that they just did a lot of shit for the trailer in this movie.
Awesome trailer,
and a lot of shit involved in the movie that really didn't need to be there, but almost all of it was in the trailer. So it made me think that they just did shit to mislead in the trailer. And that to me bothers me.
I mentioned the copying and pasting from Get Out. Mm-hmm. There's a million ways in which that's just so fucking offensive. Like being like, oh, Get Out, I want to play too. But a big part of Get Out is that black people go missing with little to no help from police. Mm-hmm. Say what you want about, like, and again, this is set in America.
Yeah. Who is not looking for the attractive doctor that goes missing?
A bunch of white girls go missing. That's like one of 3 things that gets the police's attention in America. So, and that's terrible, but
it's very true.
But that's true. Like the reason that worked for Get Out is because this is a group of people that is largely ignored by the police in their time of need. It would not make sense if, especially they're all from one area.
Right.
There would be manhunts going
for
on.
like a serial killer.
Yeah.
And like,
because none of these guys are missing. It's not like 72 people are missing. they're coming back, they're tapping back out of the sim, and they're going to work. There's just 36 women, most of whom are white, missing.
And like, what are these
Racist ass cops? They have a field day with that.
And like, what are these guys explaining when like their wife or girlfriend or whatever isn't showing up to like functions or what? Like, they're clearly missing and not living their real lives.
Yet they're at their apartment in Chicago.
Right.
That's where like they're doing the whole thing.
Right. I don't like, wouldn't that woman, Florence Pugh's character, her family would have looked for her like job would have looked for her, been like, how the fuck did she go missing? Unless like they fake an accident and fake her death or something.
That was they would have to do a lot of like, it would be some what's it called, escape room shit where like they make up these big huge cover stories.
But we
but they're
need to
there
hear
in their
that.
apartment. Yeah, and again they are sitting in their fucking apartment.
Right.
Bad movie, man. So poorly written. Really, really bad job. And I guess I'm going in extra hard on it because I'm so disappointed. Its trailer was fucking awesome. Olivia Wilde, I thought that Booksmart kind of overrated, but Booksmart was solid. And
Yeah.
Olivia Wilde, after seeing that, I was like, fuck yeah, Olivia Wilde, good director. Give me more Olivia Wilde shit. Just poorly written.
But like Booksmart, I really liked Booksmart, and I thought that the writing was really good. The jokes were good, and like, you know, directing, whatever. Like I wasn't like a standout for directing, but it was essentially super bad. But
right, so that's why I didn't love Booksmart, because it's a movie I've seen a million times before. It's a movie that needs to be made because if there's going to be 1,000,001 of those movies, they can't fucking all be about white dudes. So it was nice and a relief that there was one made from any different perspective at all, but it was a lot of the kind of the same jokes and a lot of things that you'd seen before.
Yeah, and so again, I think that this movie had a good premise, and there was a good movie to be made, but it definitely could have used more time in the oven. And this definitely felt half-baked. Definitely felt too generic in its takes and like in the things that it wanted to be. I don't want to say edgy, but like groundbreaking.
It was not profound.
No, it was not profound. It honestly kind of felt like, remember that Purge movie?
Yes, I thought of it. Yeah.
Where they did, they were like, okay, but what if the Purge took on social issues?
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, we're gonna make a Purge movie about like a poor black community being exploited by the Purge, and
Right.
it had no real social commentary of value.
And it was still set so much in the future because it's a Purge movie that it's like it's asking questions that like we're asking today. That so it didn't further anything or project any progress, which I guess is a commentary on America that might be pretty fair. But yeah, where they were like, all right, let's make it about this, and then they don't say anything.
It's one of those movies, and I said that about The Purge at the time. This is definitely one of those movies that is going to trick dumb people into thinking that it is like, oh, this movie is super smart because it's about this, or like,
yeah,
it has very surface level appeal.
It's not. I mean, believe you me, I would not kick out of bed a movie taking on like horrible toxic dudes, but this is the definition of not it, Chief. Because none of the dots connected.
It could have been it. It could have been it, Chief. It could have been a very cool
again
look.
like the trailer of this like utopia, and the men come home and the wives are so happy to see them and they've cooked them dinner and blah blah, and everybody's just so fucking happy, but something's off about it.
Yeah.
So in on that.
And I'm in on like the idea of like, but it's not something that's incredibly groundbreaking where it's like, okay, you're going into like an alternate reality to escape a shittier real life and like exploring that, but like then adding the element of like the masculinity and like guys trying to take back like the old timey stuff. Like that's interesting to me, but I want to. It needs to be more of like a character study of like the entire community and like why everybody is in there, why everybody chose to be in there, because that's the most interesting part of it. And like the couple that they focus on is not extremely interesting.
No, they're like the only ones without kids.
Yeah, and like the story, it's just like one incel guy who is not happy that his wife is more successful and doesn't want to have sex with him in real life. Like that is the reason why he's in there. I thought that like the Olivia Wilde element of being like, no, I chose to be in here because my kids are dead.
Yeah.
Like that, exploring the reasons why people would want to enter into something like that. There could be something very good there.
They did have the character of Bob, who is like the quintessential, I don't know what the word is for it, but he's just like just a fucking coward.
Mm-hmm.
And
the scene where like everything's sort of like starting to fall apart,
and he's like, oh no,
yeah,
like,
that I was
they're like running the gamut on like people who could be involuntarily celibate.
Yes, yeah, and also just like they started to just like kind of scrape the surface of like what sort of hell these people might be in for if they're found out.
Yeah, yeah.
And they don't really go any deeper on that outside of Florence Pugh and Harry Styles.
Yeah, bad movie. You think that she is able to get out of bed? She's got to have hella atrophy. She's been in bed for like years.
Yeah, they do like the gasp. So you know that she's alive. I guess we'll find out in the sequel. Logged on Letterboxd. What is your Letterboxd grade?
I gave it 2 stars. I was debating between 1.5 and 2 stars, but ultimately, for all the horrible things I've said about it, Florence Pugh is good in this movie, and it looks like people paid money to make it, and some movies are even worse than that, so I'll give it 2 stars.
I'm giving it 2.5 stars because, like I said, entertaining, kept me locked in the entire way through, looked good, good acting from Florence Pugh, great acting from Florence Pugh, lackluster performances, or I guess or adequate performances elsewhere. But the writing was bad. The reveal and the twist and the final act leave a whole lot to be desired, and that sort of takes away a lot of the things that they did correctly.